That one looks bigger.
It might just be stacked in there.
Hello there, and welcome to the channel, everyone. In the last video, we fished a small upland stream in the Coosa River Drainage. In this video, I'm fishing the Tallapoosa River in Alabama with my friend Matt Lewis. The Tallapoosa River Drainage is, of course, part of the Mobile River Basin. And you only have 3 native species of black bass in the Tallapoosa River Drainage. The Tallapoosa Bass, which is the upland species, the Alabama Bass, and the Largemouth Bass. Now here's Matt Lewis to tell us more about the Tallapoosa River and some of the fish that live there.
And so we're fishing for the Tallapoosa bass today, which is just one of quite a few species or proposed species of red-eye bass, or upland species of bass. And the Tallapoosa River is a great place to catch those fish. You know, they mix and mingle with native Alabama bass in this river as well, so you can catch 19, 20-inch Alabama bass. There's even options for striper and lots of panfish and things like that too. So it's a really diverse river. It's there's not a lot of pollution or development, so it's a really clean river, and it's really one of the treasures of Alabama. So we're going to give it a shot today, and then just a little bit about red eye. So the work that I do with red eye bass is primarily genetic in nature, so we're trying to understand those species boundaries between red eye bass, why they're hybridizing with Alabama bass, which we used to think just happened outside of the state of Alabama, where Alabama bass have been introduced to areas like the Chattahoochee, Savannah River systems. But what we're learning is they're actually hybridizing with red eye bass a good bit here in their native river systems, which is a little more confusing and certainly not natural. So we're trying to better understand, is that due to human disturbance factors, so like turbidity, development, poor ag practices, dams. I mean, there's a whole list of things that it could be. And so we're doing some work in conjunction with our genetic data to try to model and understand these habitat disturbances that may play a role in facilitating hybridization between 2 native species like the Alabama bass and the red-eye bass. And so that's something we've surveyed all these creeks and tributaries and the main stems of the Tallapoosa, the Cahaba, and the Black Warrior rivers. And so we have all that data done now, so now we're just trying to go through it and better understand it. But that's the day job, which is fun, but the fun part's coming out here and fishing. So we're going to see what we can do today.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Let's go make YouTube history. Well, we made a cast without getting one. I'm sorry, folks. Okay. Just had a bite right there. Not real sure that was a bass. Wow, that's a bass. Boy. He made a pretty good jump. I hope you folks saw that. Another nice Bama bass, 16 or 17 inches. Made a real nice jump. Boy, that was a good bite, y'all. Right there below this shoal. I'd say there's a very good chance that fish was on a bed. If you watched the last video where the fish were spawning, it's kind of the same thing here. Even though this is a much larger river, we've got a shoal here. You know, we have a lower channel gradient. It's imperceptible almost to most people watching this maybe. But there's a shoal here, and I'm standing in this water willow that's growing on this shoal. And when the water is up, there's a lot of turbulence. And so the substrate below this shoal, there's a lot of coarse, clean bottom. And fish love, black bass, all kinds of fish really love to spawn on that type of a surface that's free of silt, highly oxygenated. And again, even though this is, we don't have a high channel gradient, you know, with really obvious cascading, you know, we don't have a series of shoals with large drops with as much white water, but we still have a shoal here, and it pretty much does the same thing for the fish. You've got a coarse, clean substrate downstream immediately below the shoal. Wow. I don't think this one is 12 inches, but we'll put him on the board for sure. That is a legit Tallapoosa bass. Now, the Tallapoosa bass does not have any red or orange coloration on the fins. And I'm talking about, when we're talking about upland species of black bass, you're looking at the soft dorsal, the anal fin down here, and of course the caudal fin. There's no red or orange pigment. The Cahaba bass and the Tallapoosa bass are the only two upland species of black bass that do not have that orange or red pigment on the fins. You can see there's some turquoise coloration, blue-green on the leading edge of the soft dorsal, and also down here on the anal fin. Check that out. That's kind of turquoise, blue-green coloration. And the Tallapoosa bass does have the white caudal fin margins, which you can see here. And of course, there's plenty of blue-green coloration there on the head, and also the blue-green crescent on the back of the eye. This is my first one today, so I'm gonna see how long it is. Okay, that one's just over 11 inches. That's still a nice Tallapoosa bass. We'll get this fish back in the water. See you, buddy. Oh, that was another good one. I don't think he was over 11 inches, but he might have been 10. Again, anytime you're after any kind of upland species of black bass, anything over 10 inches, that's a double-digit fish. Oh my gosh. And that's a true trophy. You know, a lot of guys who are hardcore would consider a fish over 12 to be a trophy, and I wouldn't argue with them about that. Oh wow, look at this one. Check out the blotches on that one. You don't typically see the blotches Sorry, buddy. Another one. That's what we came for, folks, the mighty Tallapoosa Bass. Check out the turquoise blue-green coloration on these fish. Amazing. See you, dude. All right, I'm gonna get down there and tell Matt what I've learned so far. I'm sure he's catching them, but he could be onto something that I haven't figured out. So it's always a good idea to check with your check with the other angler on a float from time to time, especially a larger river like this where you get spread out. I'm catching some, but he may be catching some that are a lot bigger. You just never know. So I'd rather find out now than at the takeout, you know. Oh, wow. That's another good one, folks. Again, the ragged fins, this fish was spawning or recently spawning. How many have you caught? Okay. I caught probably 5 Tallapoosa bass back there where I first got out. I've kind of figured something out, or at least that was the case there, where you have this like water willow, and there's a shoal, like right here. There's a shoal. You see these little pockets, like here's a deep place right here. Just about every one of those has had a fish. And I think what happens is when the water's up, the turbulence just kind of, you've got a lot of coarse, clean bottom just immediately below these areas, and they're spawning, or they're recently spawned, or maybe there's something in this grass washing out. I don't know, but they've all been like right below these shoals. I know this isn't much of a shoal, but that's where they've been. I caught one that was like 11, just over 11. Okay. Even when they're spawning on that deep? Okay.
I mean, that's where I just caught all of mine, right there. Mostly Alabama bass, but I have
okay.
Bass. It's really pretty.
I should have a Texas rig or something to follow up with, because I've missed a lot that look like good ones, but I think they're spawning, you know, like if you don't hook them the first time you throw in there on this, they won't come back on it usually. Like you have to throw a worm in there. But
I think I'm gonna just kind of, I mean, the hard part here is like
that whole side's good, this whole side's good.
Oh yeah.
This is good. It's like,
I think where you have the bigger, the steeper channel gradient, you know, it's all pretty flat, but where you have more of a shoal, I think those areas will seem to be the best. But so far, I've only...
we're gonna have really good places further down too. This is just where I always start fishing. I mean, it goes for 3 miles.
Yeah.
Shoal, so.
That's one, but it's not a big one. That's the first one I've caught that was above a shoal. Another beautiful little Tallapoosa bass. See you, buddy. Now, if I had a worm, a Texas rig handy, I would throw it in there. I've got the rod, it's just I haven't rigged one up yet. It's another beautiful Tallapoosa bass. Again, well, not quite 11 inches, probably 10 or 10 and a half. I wanted to show y'all what this bottom looks like that I'm talking about. Once you get below these shoals where you have this scour, you can see all of that, those are Asian clams there, but you can see all that shell material, and then between these two bedrock outcrops, it's gravel. And that's the kind of place where these fish, or that's sort of what gives you some idea of what the bottom looks like, where these fish are spawning. Just lots of gravel and crushed shell. Oh, wow. Look at that one. So pretty. Awesome Tallapoosa bass. Not quite 12 inches. That's another one, probably 11 or so. I'm not going to put him on the board. But that one's so pretty, we might have to use that one for the thumbnail. Oh, sorry. Sorry, buddy. Now see, there really isn't much of a shoal here. There isn't much of a change in channel gradient on the back side, there's an outcrop here, but there isn't any change in channel gradient, so you don't have the same effect. It doesn't produce the same characteristics on the bottom. You know, you don't have the same level of, the same amount of turbulence and scour that you do up there. So we're gonna have to find an area where there is a change in gradient, where you have a steeper channel gradient is what causes that basically. Here it's too flat. You want my board?
Might be a hybrid, but it's at least
It's an awesome fish. Right at 12 inches. Yeah, I saw that fish jumping, and I could tell it was a decent fish, and if it was a Tallapoosa bass, I'd better get over here. Way to go.
That was awesome.
That one looks bigger.
It might just be stacked in there, man.
It's not the same one.
Good sized fish. Oh. Why don't you just stay here? You're good.
Yeah. Way to go, man. Is he bigger or just about the same?
He's a little bit smaller.
Yeah. Well, so far, folks, the fly fisherman is catching all the big Tallapoosa bass. I'm pretty sure that's not how it's supposed to work. Nice one. Another nice one. There's the old Bama bass. Wrong kind. A nice Bama bass. Again, that one looks, well, the tail's kind of the caudal fin there. You can see it's chewed up. So that fish was either spawning or has recently spawned. That looks like a bed right there. I don't know if you guys can see it right there. Oh, baby. That looks like a Tallapoosa bass. Not as pretty as the ones Matt caught, but it's a legit 12-inch fish. Well, I got to work on the release, folks. I'm sorry. Wow, are you kidding? As soon as it hit the water. It's a long, skinny one. Not quite 12 inches. An exciting bite though. Did a number on the old spinnerbait too. Oh, they're definitely spawning in that grass, y'all. Definitely spawning in the grass. See, that one's spraying milk. He's got the old red eye. Tallapoosa bass with the red eye. Oh, go back to your bed. Whoa. Oh yeah. Another chunkster. Boy, these Tallapoosa bass, they do not want to sit on your hand. You see these red-winged blackbirds in these grass islands? They're eating some type of insects. Some type of insect has been exposed as the river drops after that release. This grass has been exposed, and these red-winged blackbirds are eating whatever is in this grass. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we've caught most of the Tallapoosa bass around these grass, around this water willow. Just tons and tons of broken shell, mostly Asian clams, and gravel behind these bedrock outcrops. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. The sun's not really out, but really good coarse bottom, which we talked about already. The fish like to spawn in those areas. Look at that. Did anyone just see what happened? I was paddling, standing up, and I had about 18 inches of line hanging off the end of my rod, and my spinnerbait was just kind of under my kayak. And that fish just committed suicide. Oh, like that one. Oh, my paddle. There's another solid Bama bass. Okay, folks, there it is. My battery had died, and I was going past the head of this island, And I knew I was only going to get one shot at it with my spinnerbait going by the island, so rather than not fish the log, I just made a cast without the camera on, and this is what I caught. It's a really nice Tallapoosa bass. I can't really shut the mouth. I mean, I can shut the mouth with one hand, and it's over 13 inches. I don't know if you can see that. So it's like 13 and a half with the mouth shut. Pinching the mouth, and there you can see the tail. But got to get the fish some oxygen. It appears to be a real one. And I caught it on a spinnerbait, but the fish has been eating crayfish, and I know that because it just passed a crayfish, or parts of a crayfish, I should say, what's left of it. See you, buddy. You can kind of see the coarse bottom here that's around this water willow. There's lots of those are Asian clams. They're not mussels, but there's just a lot of those empty shell husks. You know, just a lot of those empty shells. And then you also have just some coarse gravel. Okay, another Bama bass. See you, buddy.